Today we're starting our Geometric Constructions unit, and this video will cover copying segments and angles. Our constructions only require 3 tools: your pencil, a geometric compass, and something with a straight edge like a ruler. Let's start by copying a segment. Just a quick review on segments. Segments, of course, have a beginning and an end at 2 specific points. In this case, points A and B are called the end points of our segment, and segments are named for their end points. I could call this segment AB, or I could call it segment BA, either one. Even if I have more points along the segment, let's create a point on the segment, maybe call it point C. C doesn't have to have a bearing on the name of the segment at all. I could still just call this segment AB or segment BA. To copy this segment, I first need to create a copy of one of the endpoints. If I create a point and say that it's going to be a copy of point A, I can't call it point A again because I already have a point by that name. So I need to name it something different. I could really use any letter I wanted to that hasn't already been used, but since it's a direct copy of point A, I'm going to opt to call it A prime. That tells me, that prime symbol tells me that it's an exact copy or meant to be a copy of point A. Now we're going to bring in our compass. Compasses, of course, have a point and a pencil, and we're going to put the point of that compass on point A. And then we're going to extend our compass so that the pencil is on point B. There we go. That's pretty close. Now, being really careful not to change that distance, we're going to bring the point of the compass down to point A prime. Now remember, the distance from point to pencil is exactly the same as the distance from point A to point B. So when I draw an arc using that pencil, the distance from A prime to any point on that arc is guaranteed to be the same distance as from A to B. So when I move my compass out of the way and draw a point somewhere along that arc, I could have made an entire circle if I wanted to, but it just wasn't necessary. That new point that I just drew on the arc can be a direct copy of point B, so I'm going to call that B prime. And now if I bring in my straight edge and draw a straight line between those 2 points from point A prime to point B prime, we now have a perfect replica of our original segment. It might not go in the same direction as our original segment, but it's guaranteed to have the same measure, and that's what we're going for when we copy a segment. Now let's look at copying an angle. Angles, of course, are named a little differently. Angles are made up of 2 different rays that share a common endpoint, and that common endpoint is called the vertex. If I put points A and point C on each of the 2 rays, you can see that this angle is kind of defined when I move from point A to point B and then to point C, which is why we name the angle ABC. I could go the other direction and go from C to B to A and create that same angle, so I could call it angle CBA. The one thing you need to remember in angle names, however, is that the middle letter always needs to be the vertex. If this angle stands alone with no other angles around it, sometimes you'll even just call it angle B. To copy this angle, we're going to first make a replica of the vertex. And since we're copying point B, we're going to call that B prime. And we need to make a ray coming off of that point. So using our straight edge, let's create one side of our angle, and since it's a ray, we're going to put the arrow on the end. Now in comes our compass, and we're going to put the point of the compass on the vertex. Extending our pencil so that our pencil is on point A. Bringing the point of the compass down to B prime, being really careful to maintain our distance. I'm going to draw quite a large arc here because that's got to span the entire angle. Where the arc and the ray meet, we're going to put a point there, and that's going to be a replica of point A. Since the distance from B to A is the same as the distance from B prime to our new point. Since that's a replica of point A, we're going to call it point A prime. Now we're going to use our compass again. This time we're going to put the point of the compass on point A and the pencil of the compass on point C. Moving our compass so that the point is now on A prime instead of A, we're going to draw another small arc. The point where those two arcs meet is going to be the replica of point C, so we're going to call it C prime. Bringing in our straight edge, we're going to draw a ray starting at B prime and going through C prime. Of course, since it's a ray, we're going to put the arrow on the end. And now we have an exact replica of our original angle. Again, it might not be in the same direction or exactly the same place, but if you use a protractor and measure the two angles, they should have exactly the same measure. There are many different ways to make these constructions. I've only gone through one way to make them, but they're pretty simple, so we'll call it a day, and I'll see you next time.